coming to you here once again from the land of milk and honey. Hopefully, we'll have more of that in the near future, as at the moment, there's too many unpleasant things happening in and around this space physically. But there you go. It's one of the conditions of being in a land where there is a war. Now, what is what does it have to do with Bitcoin? Well, it has a lot, but right now I'm going to talk about Bitcoin and the VEPS and the fact that the people who are trading the VEPS right now, and specifically are trading Bitcoin using the VEPS, are crushing it. And I mean that both generally and very specifically. How so? Well, statistically, people who are trading the VEPS have a higher probability of winning their trades consistently than people who trade with lagging information, for obvious reasons, because the VEPS is leading information. And so what we saw yesterday, for example, on the nice little drop we had on the daily candle, and if you look down at the lower time frames, 4 hour, 90 minute, 15 minute, and so on, you can see the targets were extremely precise on the VRE, as well as on the PB2, as well as on the RMLR. Right, we had a mean reversion complete very nicely on the daily candle. So the 3012 RMLR was hit on this new daily candle because of the drop we had yesterday. And what does that mean? Well, that means that now the asset is likely to distribute away from that RMLR. But what it also means is that, once again, right, it was correct. It was a correct probability that after stopping to hit that STDEV to the upside for 2 days in a row, that third STDEV band, the third standard deviation band to the upside of the 3012 RMLR on the daily time frame, right, after not hitting it for 2 days in a row, it was in mean reversion. And sure enough, it completed that mean reversion right away as soon as it was confirmed to be in it. Why? Well, that's statistics for you and probabilities. And if you look at those targets on the daily, and if you look at the targets on the lower time frames, you'll see the VRE was incredibly accurate yesterday yet again. There was no FOMO involved, no FUD. Nobody had to be scared into taking stupid over leveraged positions. But of course, most traders don't trade that way. Most traders of Bitcoin and other assets, especially volatile ones for some reason, over leverage their positions. And that leads to very poor decision making. That causes big losses, bigger than people are prepared to accept. And that causes people to get liquidated, or get wrecked, as they say. And it causes people to lose their trading capital to the degree where they don't have anything left to trade with. So that's another cautionary tale of why you should not do those things, right? Especially if you're new to trading and you don't even know what leverage really is, let alone how to use it properly. You just think, oh, the exchange is giving me free money to trade, to get higher gains. Yeah, it's also higher losses, right? If you are in the wrong direction, and if you're using the lagging information, probabilities are you will be in the wrong direction. Okay, so let's not get it twisted, and don't think that your probabilities are improved because you're using some fancy indicator that you bought from some YouTube Jimmy charging you a few $100 a month for it. That's if it's based on price, it's not a good indicator, generally speaking. There are a very, very, very select few indicators that can be used for confirmation of non-price based indicators. That's it. They cannot be used. None of them can be used for primary indicators, or even secondary indicators, or frankly even tertiary. Right? They're really auxiliary indicators, and that's it. Which just means that you can use them to confirm what you already know is happening on primary, secondary, and tertiary indicators. Okay, that's all those auxiliary indicators really are good for. Now, what does that mean? That means you should be using leading information to trade. So, for example, you probably heard about the Satoshi Nakamoto thing. I already mentioned it multiple times on this stream. The HBO documentary about Satoshi Nakamoto, they called their documentary Digital Money, right? And they aired it a couple days ago. And just like pretty much everyone predicted, they were not going to reveal who Satoshi is, because if anybody had figured that out, okay, it would be an immense story, not just a silly little add to the batch of millions of documentaries that have been made, or articles that have been written, or videos that have been made claiming to reveal who Satoshi is, and all of them have failed to do so for one very simple reason. Satoshi clearly, whoever or whatever Satoshi is, clearly intended to be not findable, right? Kept himself anonymous, herself, whatever, itself, themselves, anonymous, after saying Satoshi was leaving the community and had given control of all the things that he had to different people. So truly decentralizing the technology, the core development, and everything else. And that is what caused, really, Bitcoin to have a tremendous growth and maintain its growth and development. And it doesn't matter if you like the fact that people just chase it for money now, or whatever, for price action go up or whatever. It doesn't matter if you miss the good old days or whatever. Bitcoin is what Bitcoin is, and it became that way thanks to the gallant efforts of Satoshi Nakamoto, really, right, who made it and gave it away, and then he walked away from it. And not just because of that, but because of the incredible, cooperation or collaboration between the developers who have made Bitcoin continue to run and be well maintained, despite a very small number of glitches that it has encountered along the way, all of which were practically immediately resolved. And fortunately, as each little glitch was resolved, that significantly increased the security of the network. Hopefully it is now at a point where we won't have more such future potential problems, right? But it's code, things can happen. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the FOMO documentary, not the FOMO the HBO FOD documentary about who Satoshi is, was just another piece of nonsense, eye candy, brain candy entertainment for the sole purpose of deceiving people into thinking that they had found something so huge. Why? In order to get eyeballs onto their show, right? That's how they make their money. They're selling. If you want to watch it, you can watch it on some stream sites. It costs like $10 or $20 a month or whatever to get access to that HBO channel online. Or, you have a cable subscription, which some people, I guess, still do, and you happen to have that channel on your cable network box, so you might have seen it there. But, it should be really no surprise to anyone, certainly no one in the Bitcoin community, that obviously they were not going to reveal who Satoshi is. Just like it should be no surprise to anyone that the supposed U.S. government sale of Bitcoin, there's 69,000 and something hundreds of Bitcoins, is also not earth-shattering news, right? And isn't anything to write home about or to try to take a trade about. Why? Well, again, the total amount that they might dump, if they did, would be less than 0.5% of all the coins. 2, it would probably be bought up anyway very, very quickly by whales who are just gobbling them up as fast as they can. Hundreds, if not thousands a day. And third of all, most importantly, right, they never even said they're going to sell them. All that happened is that a court, apparently, involved in a case, looked at some requests related to the Bitcoin that the U.S. government holds, and basically said, yes, the government has the right to sell them. The government didn't say it's going to sell them, right? It just has the right, according to this case, to sell them. In talking about various Bitcoin that they confiscated through different raids, etc. So that's really all that happened. There's no mention of them wanting to actually sell them. Personally, I think they should, and I think they should sell them only to retail traders, not accredited investors, not centralized banks, not large financial institutions, not whales, and not other governments. But that's not going to happen. Right? Most likely. What's going to happen is they're going to be sold to exactly those kind of people, if they sell them at all. And frankly, I don't see much reason to think that they will. I mean, can you name me a reason why the government, in the U.S. would sell their Bitcoin when both leading candidates for president, from the Democrats and the Republicans, have both said that they want to make America a leader in Bitcoin? Well, it's going to be a lot easier to be a leader in Bitcoin if the U.S. owns a good chunk of Bitcoin, which they already do. And if they sell off whatever 10% of their holdings or something, they'll still be a huge player. They'll still be the biggest government holder on earth, but they'll be depleting their holdings significantly at that point. And that could, make it easier for some country like China to catch up to the amount of Bitcoin that they hold, that the government holds, right? The U.S. government. And since the U.S. government does not want China to be the leading government in the world that holds Bitcoin, even though arguably you could say that they already are, because every company that's based in China, technically their Bitcoin is, I don't know where that cut off, but the point is, in the U.S., right, private enterprise owns their own Bitcoin, and in China, there's really no such thing as private enterprise. I mean, technically there is, but also technically there isn't, because the government is involved at some level, even in private enterprise. Right? They literally own pretty much everything, and that which they don't own, they typically have some official government involvement, like somebody from the party works inside the company, whether the company likes it or not. And their job is to basically monitor and report whatever the company is doing to the government. So, yes, the U.S. government could sell off 69,000 Bitcoin and still be in the lead in terms of governments that hold Bitcoin. But they don't have any interest in doing that. Like, what do they need $4 billion for, whatever that number is? However many dollars 69,000 Bitcoin will get them. Think about it. What are they better off doing? Holding 0.5% of all the Bitcoin, like an additional 0.5% of all the Bitcoin on top of the already, 3% that they already own? Or are they better off getting some billions of dollars, which they can literally print, right? They could tell the Fed, hey, we need this, please print it, and the Fed will most probably oblige. right? After all, it's the Fed that decides what they print, but it's the Fed that does listen to what the government wants, right? So the Fed does actually, they are in a way beyond the law, but on the other hand, also beholden to their largest client, which is their only client, the US government, right? So yes, they have kind of a free hand to kind of do what they want when they think they have to do something a little different than what the government is asking. But if the government said, listen, we absolutely need this, and you have to do this, or we can, change the laws and shut you down or whatever, something drastic if they ever had to. So the Fed is not likely to refuse a granted wish or refuse to grant a wish that the government would make to them if it was something urgent. But really, 69,000 Bitcoin would not be anything urgent to the United States government, right? Like really, what does that even come to? All right, let's just see here real quick, because who knows? Right? My math brain is a little bit tired right now, and not having had enough coffee for the day. But let's just say, whatever. Let's just say $62,000. Okay, roughly today's price at some point that I saw. Times, let's just call it 69,000. I think it was like 200 and change. So 69,200. Okay. We're talking $42 billion. Like, yeah, it sounds like a lot of money. 42.9 billion. So 43, but call it 43 billion if you want. Okay, $43 billion. Do you really think the government gives a hoot in the US to sell off 69,000 Bitcoin for $43 billion? The US government. Like, it's not nothing, but it's hardly going to make a dent in anything like deficits, right? What is the debt clock at right now? Do you guys know? You remember? Debt clock. Let's go look at that. U.S. national debt clock. Maybe I can even switch the camera on so you can see here. There you go. U.S. national debt clock. That is 35.6 trillion is the national debt right now. Almost $35.7 trillion. Debt per citizen, 105,000. Debt per taxpayer, 271 grand. Okay. So with a deficit of $35.7 trillion, do you really think 42 billion makes a difference? The obvious answer is no. Okay. It should not be a surprise to anyone if the U.S. government just holds on to those. And if they do sell them, by the way, because maybe they have some smart trader who's going to decide to do it for them. Don't be surprised if they buy them back up if the market dips. But they really have no interest in selling off 69,000 Bitcoin. Like, none whatsoever. It doesn't help them at all. By the way, this website, in case you're not familiar with it, usdebtclock.org. What does it say there? Oh, this is just like, yeah, there you go. It just shows you the details of the info you're on or whatever. On each thing you're on. Anyway, yeah, so there you go. U.S. total debt. Oh, there we go. That's even bigger and scarier, right? You see that? U.S. total debt? That's 102 trillion, 223 billion, 551 million and change dollars. So U.S. total debt is 102 trillion. The national debt, 35.7 trillion. Big difference between the national debt and the U.S. total debt. So if you think 42 billion is going to make a pipsqueak worth of difference with these kind of numbers, Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just not. Money creation. Let's look at money creation. Currency and derivatives now. Look at that number. We're talking 633 trillion in currency and credit derivatives now, and 92 trillion in currency and credit derivatives 2000 compared to, right? US M2 money supply right now 21.1, almost 21.2 trillion dollars. That's the US M2 money supply right now. US Treasury dollars, 1.5, almost 1.6 trillion dollars in 2025. Even that, okay, is practically nothing. Like the 42 billion compared to that is practically nothing. Look, US debt held by foreign countries, almost 8.6, right, 8.5 trillion dollars of US debt held by foreign countries, meaning they owe the US that, but they're holding debt, is what it means. Okay, they're holding dollars, T-bills. US trade deficit, $1.1 trillion. US trade deficit to China is about a quarter of that at $281 billion. US imported oil, $252 billion. Now you gotta wonder yourself, why does the imported oil keep increasing if the US is producing more oil than it has ever produced in history since years? That's because of the nature of the oil industry and imports and exports and how they work. It's not just, oh, well, the US makes a lot of oil, so it shouldn't import any. No, because the US still exports tons of oil. In fact, it exports more oil than it's ever exported. Because again, the US is creating or is mining, drilling out of the ground or fracking more oil than it has ever produced in history since years. So, and there's many oil companies who have licenses to drill baby drill who are not drilling baby drilling since years. Ask yourself why that is. They obviously have a political and or financial interest to not use the licenses they hold, all while letting certain people cry, oh, the US should be drilling more. Well, if the US should be drilling more, then why aren't they drilling more if they have the licenses already in place to do so? Ask yourself that. Right? It's not a question of one party or another being better for the oil industry, which isn't good for pretty much anything. I mean, yes, it's important, but it doesn't mean it's good. It's political theater is what it is, okay? It's manipulation of people who don't understand the big picture. So, there you go. That's what we're talking about. A lot of big debts that the government is doing. What is this? Weird. Okay. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna call it a day. By the way, yesterday there were a bunch of people who watched one of my streams. I think it was probably an accident, right? Maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, if you're one of those folks, and if you're new to this, to my videos, then thank you again, and for joining and watching, and I hope you liked it and subscribed or whatever. I tend to talk about a lot of stuff related to crypto and trading in the markets, but also about marketing, because I do marketing since forever. And once in a while, I talk about other stuff like political stuff or the war, things like that. So I hope you're all having a great day, a peaceful day, a profitable day. And if you want to join the Alpha Trading live stream where we talk about specific analysis using the VEPS on different assets like Bitcoin and everything else that we go through. Dixie, SPY, Tesla, Apple, whatever. We go through all that stuff. Gold, Litecoin, Solana, whatever. Even sometimes Ethereum or XRP. Then by all means, feel free to join us. The URL to do that is just go to alphatradinghq.com/discord. Again, that's alphatradinghq.com/discord. And once you're in there, you can join the live stream. And that starts at 9 a.m. US Eastern time. You can join by voice. You can be involved by the text chat. You can also join on the Rumble channel, but typically we just run our live streams in the Discord. That's primarily what it's for, is for the people, the members of our community. So if there's any assets you want to see traded, just join in, and we'll see you guys there, hopefully starting at 9 a.m. US Eastern time today. All right. And if there's any technical problems or something, well, hey, bear with us. We have a great soundboard. So at least there's that, and memes. All right, guys. That's it. Take care, guys. See you in the next one. Happy trading.